Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. Unfortunately, once again, the Buffalo Bills lost to the Houston Texans for their second loss in a row, now sitting at a record of 3-2. The Texans beat the Bills 23-20. Before I get into this episode today, I just want to clarify something up real quick. If you noticed, I didn't have an episode on Friday, meaning 3 days ago, for the regularly scheduled preview episode for this Bills-Texans game. I do apologize about that. The reason is because I posted this on Twitter. I was not feeling well Friday. I couldn't physically do it, and I didn't really have, any amount of energy. I couldn't do any podcasts, videos, episodes, I should say, rather. I couldn't even write articles on Substack. I had a headache, stuff, all that. So I do apologize for that if you were looking forward to that. I did put it on my Twitter to give you guys a heads up if you saw it. If not, I'm telling you right now. But yeah, we're back today. I'm mostly over it for the most part, but if I sound off or kind of weird at any point at all during this episode, then you know why. That's the reason. So just bear with me. Anyway, this was I'll get to one word to describe the game in a minute, but you know me, I'm very calculated when it comes to these episodes. I have everything planned. I usually have a ton of notes with me. Forget that. Not today. This was such a disgusting game. This was such a bad game from the Bills and Sean McDermott and staff that I wanted to just talk with you guys, have a free-flowing conversation. Maybe put some stuff down in the comments below if you want to expand more on any thoughts that you agree or disagree with me today. But I have no notes. That's rare for me. This is probably the only time this will happen. But a loss like this, I just have a lot to get off my chest, and I want it to be authentic as possible. No plans. Let's just get right into it. So, as I introduced in the intro of this episode, the Buffalo Bills fell to the Houston Texans by a score of 23-20. I know I'm going to say something for the end of the game, then I'll get into some other stuff. I kind of want to go just position by position with the free-flowing conversation, just kind of evaluate it as a whole and take them position by position group. But first, Sean McDermott, the end game sequence. What are you doing? It is tied at 20. First of all, let's rewind a bit. Devon Smoot forces a strip sack. Dorian Williams recovers that fumble. So fumble recovery for Dorian Williams at the 15-yard line. They go a run and 2 incompletions in literally 19 seconds. So horrible clock management there, and then they kick the field goal to be tied at 20. And then you force a 3-and-out on the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud in the very next drive. Unfortunately, though, the punt lands at your 3-yard line, and you're set up right there. But this is where Sean McDermott gets stupid with things. There was about 34 seconds left. So your goal is to get to overtime, right? You're not going to go from the 3-yard line to scoring a touchdown in 34 seconds. Not going to happen. All you have to do is run out the clock, or at the very least, run the ball 3 times, and even if you punt, okay, it's whatever, because you made the Houston Texans use all 3 of their timeouts, and it would have been near impossible for them to get down in field goal range with no timeouts. But instead, Sean McDermott allows Joe Brady to call 3 big chunk play deep shots in a row. First down, deep shot, incomplete, stops the clock. Second down, deep shot, incomplete, stops the clock. Third down, deep shot, incomplete, stops the clock. Texans save all 3 of their timeouts because Sean McDermott is a boneheaded idiot in that situation, and he can't get his act together. Situational football. I can't stand watching Sean McDermott in late game situations because he gets so outcoached, so outclassed. His brain turns to mush. He never acts like he's seen a clock before. He never acts like he's seen a run play before. He acts like he's never been in late game clutch situations in a football game before. Get your head out of your you-know-what and call the game like it's supposed to be called. If Joe Brady wants to call that, you override him today. No. Screw that. We're not doing that. We're calling 3 runs in a row, even if you don't get it. First of all, if you don't get a first down, you punt it. At the very least, you made them use all 3 of their timeouts. If you get a first down, that ices it, and you go to overtime, tied at 20. So either way, worst case scenario, both things happen. You lucked out on both things. Nope. Texans got to save all 3 of their timeouts, and you know what happened. They went down. Kai Fairbairn, one of the very best kickers in the league, made a 59-yard field goal like it was nothing. We deserved to lose that game, and then we got to hear, we got to hear the same song and dance with stupid Sean McDermott after the game. Yeah, it's on me. I take blame. For God's sake, how many times have I heard that before, whether it's been losses last year, big losses the year before, the blowout loss to the Ravens literally just last week? I take blame. I got to be better, blah, blah, blah. Show me results. Show me change. Stop saying that and let's go. And I'm going to say something about Terry Pegula here. I don't want to call it from a grain ownership level, but I kind of am. Terry Pegula is a very, very hands-off owner. Maybe it's time he steps in and has a talking to Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, or both. Maybe it's time to do that. He hasn't spoken to the media since 2019. That is 5 flipping years. Say something. I'm not saying you've got to be as involved and as hands-on as that Panthers owner, David Tepper, who's just way too hands-on with his coaches, but at least say something. Do something. Take action. I'm not saying fire Sean McDermott, but do something. That late games weekends. I have tried to rationalize and wrap my head around this end game sequence since really the second the game ended yesterday, and I can't. I just can't. There's no explanation for it. It's unforgivable. It's unfathomable. I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. I'll be thinking about that till the end of time. What was he thinking? I just don't know what was going through Sean McDermott's head at that point to not overrun Joe Brady and say, screw this. We're running the ball. At least once or twice, if not all 3 times, like I would have preferred. I can't wrap my head around it. You can't rationalize it. There's no rationale for this Sean McDermott being a boneheaded idiot in that. I know it might sound harsh, but it's true. Like, I hate watching him. I said this earlier. I hate watching him in late game situations because his brain just melts and turns to mush. The guy, he acts like he's got 3 heads by the way he acts in late game situations. So none of those heads work right, apparently. So I don't know. There's no rationale. There's no explanation for it. Anyway, now I want to go position by position and kind of explain my overarching thoughts from this game. We have to start first and foremost with the quarterback, Josh Allen. Guys, he finished this game 9 of 30. That is a grand total. Are you ready for this? 30% completion percentage. Excuse me. Yep, you heard me right. 30% completion percentage for the franchise quarterback, Josh freaking Allen. What was he doing? This whole game, he was on a whole other planet. He was spaced the hell out. He was absolutely mentally checked out. He was off. He missing receivers all over the place. He didn't scramble as much as he should have. He backs up in the pocket to take that 1 sack. He held on the ball for abnormally way too long, abnormally longer than he should and usually does. And then he comes over the sideline and takes his helmet off and slams it on the ground and starts yelling at teammates and people. That's not usually how Josh Allen acts. I don't know what was in the water yesterday, but he better get his act together after this. You know what performance. You need to bounce that quick against the Jets because he was not with it mentally and physically. He was just not with it yesterday. And then the running backs, James Cook was the only thing that went good offensively for this game. Everything else is absolute trash. Everything else and everybody else is absolutely garbage. I'm sorry, they just were. And then James Cook, he was doing really, really well in the first couple drives. And then I hate this. I hate when Joe Brady does this. When the run's working, he says, Well, the run's working. Well, too bad, because we're going to go away from it. Hello? When something's working to that good of a magnitude, I don't know if that makes sense. When something's working that well, there it is. When something's working that well, you don't go away from it. James Cook was getting like 8, 9, and at the most 10 yards every single carry. And then he went away from it. And that's when you know what hit the fan. So I don't know what to say. Stick with the run more, and then stop it. And then Joe Brady doesn't run when he absolutely should run, and then he runs when he has no business running the ball. I've said this time and time again in this podcast and just conversations with my dad and family members and stuff. First down runs are the most useless thing in the world. First down runs are easily the most useless thing in football. You know why? Especially with the Bills protection schemes last few games, they go absolutely nowhere. They go nowhere, 1 yard or at best 2 yards. And then you're in 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8. And then at second down, you're forced to throw the ball and risk an incompletion. And then third down, if you don't get it, it's a punt. First down runs are the most useless thing in all of football, if you ask me. They don't set up anything. It's not good situational football. It's just garbage. I'm sorry. It just is. First down runs are so useless. Stick to the run. Joel Brady said after the game all week in between Ravens blowout and this game, he said, yeah, James Cook was doing good. I feel like I abandoned the run too early. Well, my God, you abandoned it too early this week too. Stop abandoning the run. And if you're stop being stubborn and going away from it, stick with the freaking run. It's working. I don't understand it in the least. And then I want to talk about tight ends. First of all, Dawson Knox, I know he's not technically starting tight end, but with Shakir out in this game yesterday, they went with 2 technically starting tight ends, so Big 12 personnel with Dalton. Your starting receivers being Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman. We'll get to that in a minute. What a crap thing. Group of receivers. And then your 2 starting tight ends are Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, I've had my criticisms of him before. He's a really good blocker, but he has trouble separating sometimes, but more so he has way too many drops for my liking. But he'd have a single target. And in my opinion, he should be the first target in the red zone. Well, maybe Khalil Shakir, but he's not an invite. In my opinion, without Khalil Shakir, even with him most of the time, he should be the first read in the red zone, which means inside the 20, obviously. And he's not. He didn't have a single target yesterday. And then Dalton Kincaid, does someone need to send a memo to Joe Brady that Dalton Kincaid is on this football team? Like, breaking news, Dalton Kincaid is on the Buffalo Bills. He is not being used properly at all. I said this the first 3 weeks, even when the Bills were winning and blowing teams out. I said Dalton Kincaid's usage is making me really annoyed because he had good enough production, but it would be all screen passes and expect him to run after the catch. Okay, he's not a little tiny receiver where he's going to run after the catch. Use him in the middle of the field area. Use him downfield. Expand his ADOT. Don't give him little crap checkdowns or screens every 2 seconds. Like, someone needs to tell Joe Brady, like, does Joe Brady know that Dalton Kincaid's on the team? Wake up, use your superstar, burgeoning superstar tight end, and get him moving. Not screens, not low ADOT throws. High percentage middle of field and deep field throws. I don't blame Dalton Kincaid at all. I blame Joe Brady. He's been using him horribly, and he's not being used properly at all. You want to talk about maximizing Dalton Kincaid's talents? I mean, Joe Brady is doing the total opposite. He's just burying his talents. This is just absurd. And then we go to the wide receiver position. By far my biggest annoyance and what makes me the most mad. Maddest, I don't know if it's a word, but most mad and biggest annoyance. This wide receiver position group is so, I cannot emphasize enough, bad. You have Matt Collins out there who can't track a freaking football to save his life. Josh Allen on the second drive of the game, maybe it was even first drive, I don't know. For bottom line, first couple drives of the game, he throws a moon ball deep shot, 30 yards to Matt Collins. And what does Matt Collins do? He doesn't locate the ball. He looks up way too late, and then after he goes like, "Oh, what happened?" Dude, you didn't locate the freaking football like you should have. Get your act together. That was horrible. And I mean horrible ball tracking skills. If Matt Collins is your highest snap taker at wide receiver like he has been the last couple of weeks, that tells you right there all you need to know. If Matt Collins is your highest snap taker at wide receiver like he has been the last 2 weeks or at all, you have severe issues. And then Klushker's out, so he's whatever, but he looks pretty irreplaceable right now. And then you have MVS. Somehow, with very low expectations, he even disappointed me. But I blame Joe Brady for this. Why in the ever-loving world, in the fourth quarter, in a comeback attempt, are you putting your fifth wide receiver, who has questionable hands, your fifth wide receiver, though, against a star corner in Derek Stingley Jr.? Are you kidding me? A pathetic fifth wide receiver against a burgeoning superstar corner and Derek Stingley Jr.? That is a complete miscalculation by Joe Brady, and that is a complete joke. He dropped it. I knew it was going to be a disaster. What kind of BS matchup is that? And then let's go to Keon Coleman. He had one catch for 49 yards, big run after catch, one touchdown. Ooh, big deal. That was his only catch. The one before that, the ball doinked right off his helmet. It's kind of the summation of the day, but the summary of the day, I should say, rather than that word. Summary of the day, it bounced right off his helmet. Dude, turn around, locate the football, catch it, and go. Instead, he's out there blocking and not expecting Josh Allen to throw the ball. Dude, you have to be ready at all times. Instead, it bounces right off his helmet. Could have been intercepted. Thank God, just fell gracefully, harmlessly to the ground. But my God, dude, it bounces right off your helmet. And then Keon Coleman, we already knew this against Florida State, that he, coming out of Florida State in college, that he had pretty severe separation issues. But like, this is even more severe than I thought. And this goes for everybody. Keon, Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins, MVS, the whole freaking game, the whole freaking receiver group. I say that because they're barely a group. It's like a makeshift project over there. They don't separate. No one can get separation downfield. The defensive backs, whether it's corners or safeties, most of the time corners, are on their hip the whole way. The second they jam them at the line, the second they jam them at the route stem, there they are on their hip. They can't get any separation. You can't catch the ball if you don't separate. It's great to have the catchability. I've said this before, but you know what's great? Finding soft holes in the zone. Finding open spots where you can catch the ball and create elite run after catchability. And Klushker is the only one that does that. Keon, Mac, MVS, they can't separate. And then the one receiver that annoys me the most, Curtis Samuel. This is so embarrassing, guys. This is just embarrassing. Please, I'm begging you, Joe Brady, for the love of God, stop forcing screens to Curtis Samuel. I think it's half and half. One, Joe Brady is trying to force Curtis Samuel into being a thing. Guys, forget it. Screw that. He's not a thing. Total failure of a contract. And I loved the contract. Excuse me. I loved that contract. But woof. Like, Curtis Samuel was known for, like, He hasn't been able to capitalize on his deep routes and deep shots in his career because he's been playing with horrible quarterbacks. And Joe Brady's been with him before for a year in Carolina in 2020 where he had like 800-something receiving yards and 300-something rushing yards. Curtis Samuel, that is. So that's over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. So this isn't like you're onboarding a brand new player to some scheme here. He's very familiar with Joe Brady. Massive amounts of production with him that one year. Instead, though, they're forcing screens to Curtis Samuel. And also, I just think Curtis Samuel doesn't have the juice he has in past years. I don't know what it is. Every time he gets the ball, he just falls down right away. I don't know. Like, this receiver room is not good enough, guys. If you don't trade, so one, stop forcing screens to Curtis Samuel. And two, stop forcing screens at all. When's the last time a Bills screen went for anything at all? We know they can't block for screens. In the 90s with Thurman Thomas, are we really talking 30 plus years ago for screens working? Stop kidding yourself. It's embarrassing with Curtis Samuel. It is downright embarrassing at this point. So these wide receivers can't separate. And also, you could say, A, Joe Brady's not putting his scheme is terrible. He's not putting him in a position to succeed. Or B, they just can't win one-on-one. The talent's not there. I heavily lean B. Yes, Joe Brady's scheme is terrible, but I heavily lean B. The talent just isn't there. The Texans played one single high safety. So they didn't play two deep back, two open field, two high safety looks on defense. The Texans played one single high safety close coverage, which means the Texans were like, okay, Bills, okay, Joe Brady, okay, Josh Allen and company and gang over there. We'll let you beat us with the run, but you're going to have to challenge us deep and you're going to have to win one-on-one and your receivers are going to have to beat us one-on-one and separate. Well, Jesus, that couldn't have gone worse. We have no receivers that can win one-on-one. We have no receivers that can separate. They dared our receivers to win one-on-one battles. That went horribly. I mean, this wide receiver is a disaster. I blame Brandon Beane as well for this too, because the most damning thing about this whole thing, wide receiver group, is this is what they wanted. This was their vision. Brandon Beane chose this. They chose to construct a receiver room like this. They chose not to be aggressive and trade for Brandon Ayuk. They chose not to be aggressive and trade for T. Higgins. They chose not to be aggressive and trade for any receiver or double dip receiver in the draft. So the damnedest thing about this whole thing is they chose to go this route. This was their vision, and it's annoying because their vision isn't working out whatsoever. Brandon Beane, this is a PSA just to you, buddy. If you don't trade for a high-profile wide receiver like by the deadline, which is November 1st, Davante Adams, I believe. Davante Adams, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, or DeAndre Hopkins, one of those four, you have severe issues. If you don't capitalize to trade for one of those four, I don't know what to tell you. I blame Brandon Beane for not being more aggressive with this receiver room. This is what they chose, and it's going horribly. This is just a failed experiment after you traded Diggs. And by the way, Diggs kind of ate up Cam Lewis for lunch, but we'll get to that when we talk about the defensive side of the ball. But I don't like this. I do not like this wide receiver room one bit. It's a joke. It's a joke right now. Even with Khalil Shakir, it's a joke. I love Khalil Shakir. He's clearly far and away the wide receiver one. He's outproducing Dalton Kincaid as well, which I had my gripes about, obviously. But it's just a joke. Like, it's not fundamentally right. Like, there's something fundamentally wrong. I don't know if it's a mental thing, a physical thing. I don't know, and I don't give a crap until you trade for a high-profile wide receiver. You don't need draft picks at this point, Brandon Beane. You're trying to contend with Josh Allen. You have 11 draft picks this next draft, 2025 NFL draft. So you freaking use them and get off your high horse and let's get moving. Lastly, in the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line, it was up and down for the whole day. I thought left tackle Deion Dawkins did well. I thought center Connor McGovern did well, and left guard David Edwards did well. So left side of the line, so right side, left side. The left side of the line was fine, perfectly fine with those three. But then the right side, the duo of Spencer Brown Osiris Torrance was brutal. No wonder Osiris Torrance is the lowest graded guard in terms of PFF grades in the entire league. Yes, you heard that right. Awful. Just awful. I thought he could have an all-pro caliber second season, and he's just declining week by week, day by day, game by game. What even want to say in tournament? It's just ridiculous. And the right tackle Spencer Brown, ever since he got that contract extension, he's been pretty poor. And going back and looking at some game film and clips and stuff, he's been even worse. He was even worse than I thought yesterday. Yes, not all of the pressure from the offense, not all of the pressure from the Texans defensive line with Will Anderson, Daniel Hunter, and a couple of those defensive tackles is on the offensive line, our offensive line, I should say, rather, the Bills' own line. A lot of it, some of it was about half and half, because some of it was just Josh Allen had very, very poor pocket awareness yesterday, but this offensive line, specifically the right side with Brown and Torrance, couldn't hold up at all. The one time things got right and Josh Allen did have protection, though, it was either an inaccurate pass, which is on him, or a complete drop, an idiotic play drop by a receiver. Most of the time, it was Keon Coleman or Matt Collins. Downright sickening. Just disgusted. My one word to describe this game is disgusted. I just can't get over it. Now, let's go to the defense side of the ball. This wasn't as much of a disaster in the first half. It was the second half. They bounced back in a big way. For some highlights here, just before I get all negative again, the linebacker tandem of Dorian Williams and Terrell Byrne. Dorian Williams was flying around. I've seen him improve in coverage over the last few weeks, I should say, rather. Although he wasn't tested there much. But when he is tested, I wouldn't call him very poor anymore. I would call him decent at best. He still has a lot to improve in that side of things. But yeah. And then Terrell Bernard, he made a huge fourth down stop and a huge interception that the Bills couldn't capitalize on. Through all the injuries, Von Miller suspended, Ed Oliver out, Taylor Rapp out. Matt Milano obviously out to December if he returns at all. Very nervous about that. And longevity long term. But with all the injuries and suspension to Von Miller, the defense, they didn't ball out in the second half, but they bounced back in a big way after halftime. And then this secondary was just torched all day. The busted coverage on Nico Collins before he, tweaked his hamstring, pulled his hamstring in his leg and went out of the game. I mean, I could have caught that touchdown. That's not an exaggeration. Nico Collins, I don't know what it was. He busted up the seam for a huge 70-yard touchdown from C.J. Stroud. Afterwards, Rasul Douglas had his hands in the air mid-freaking play because he expected safety help over the top in the form of Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop totally whiffed. He totally missed his assignment. He didn't even try, and it was just god-awful. I don't blame Rasul Douglas entirely. I blame him a little, but I don't blame him entirely because he was expecting Cole Bishop to be there, and Cole Bishop was totally on another planet mentally and physically. It just wasn't good. And then Rasul Douglas had a couple more whiffs, but Cam Lewis had a bunch of missed tackles this game. Stephon Diggs ate up Cam Lewis for lunch in the slot. It was not good. Like Taron Johnson down to Cam Lewis, it was night and day. I would have thrown Jamarcus Ingram there a handful of times more than they did, just to see how he would have fared against Stephon Diggs. It probably would have been worse. But what do you have to lose? The only defensive back that played well was Christian Benford. I thought he played very well. He kind of shut down Tank Dell and then Nico Collins until he had that touchdown, but that wasn't him at all. A little Douglas and then Bishop. So I just thought this was really, really poor by the Bills defensive backs, aside from Christian Benford, but that's it. And then DeMar Hamlin, he wasn't targeted. He didn't do anything exceptional, but he didn't do anything bad either, so he was okay. He was just steady DeMar, so it's whatever. And then the defensive line, we didn't actually get torn up by Cam Akers and Dare Ogunbowale, which I was very nervous of. But Dwayne Carter, rookie Dwayne Carter, who's usually the backup 3-tech to Ed Oliver, and now he had to start next to Daquan Jones. He did really well, actually, other than that one missed tackle on the Cam Akers touchdown run in the first quarter on their way to up 14-0. 14-3, I should say, rather. But he fared pretty well. And then Daquan Jones played way more snaps than he usually does because behind him were freaking Branson Dean and Zion Logue. I mean, it was a joke. That defensive tackle room going in, it still is looking back at it, a complete and utter joke. And then the pass rushers, Greg Rousseau, they got pressure. Greg Rousseau had 3 QB hits, and I believe AJ Epinoza had technically 1 QB hit as well. But that's what they do. The Bills always do this. They get QB pressures, they get their hands on, they get QB hits, but they don't finish. They let the quarterback freaking break out and scramble around. I said CJ Stroud was a very slippery QB. He escapes pressure a lot. The offensive line isn't the greatest, but when he's pressured, you get your hands on him and then you blink and then he escapes pressure and throws a dot downfield like he did 2 or 3 times yesterday. A dart downfield, say rather. Like he did 2 or 3 times yesterday. I just fundamentally, like, they couldn't get him to the ground. This was just bad. I give a little grace to the defense, though, because they were atrocious first half. Second half, though, like, they bounced back in a big way. Again, they weren't excellent, but they were very, very good for what they had. Again, Rapp, Oliver, Lano, Miller, all out. So it was rookie Cole Bishop back there with DeMar Hamlin, which absolutely just dreadful. He was terrible. So as soon as Taylor was back, he'll come back in. But Cole Bishop was just awful. He didn't make a single good play. And then Tyler Bass, we got to check his field goals every week. 2-2 in field goals. 7, 14, 20. And then 2-2 in extra points. Sorry, I was trying to calculate the touchdown there. So that's good. And Sam Martin was up and down. He had a few really good punts, and then he had a few like pretty abysmal punts. I think Sam Martin's, or I've said this before, he's a replacement level punter in this league, replaceable punter in this league. So, anyways, guys, I'm just so disgusted by everything, especially Sean McDermott. I placed the blame squarely on Sean McDermott. I guess for fun, since I had no notes. I guess for fun, Big Saves of Game Award would be Terrell Bernard because he set us up very well. He made a huge fourth down stop in the first half and then made a huge should have been a game-changing interception, at least going to overtime at worst, at the very least, if Sean McDermott's brain didn't melt, if he didn't have a brain fart, if he didn't have a mental lapse there. But Terrell Bernard, Big Slice of Game Award. And then Burnt Slice of Game Award for player, I'll give it to Josh Allen because he was just like totally checked out, totally spaced out. But for coach, I would absolutely give it to Sean McDermott, Joe Brady. Bobby Babich worked well with what he had. But Sean McDermott mainly, this is squarely on you. Like, you've shown time and time again that you get out-coached in late-game situations, like the last couple of minutes of games. And I still can't fathom how that ended. There's no rationale for it. I keep saying this, but I'm going to think about this till the end of time. Like, I'm just disgusted at how Sean McDermott ended that. So, anyways, guys, I'm done. I'm done wasting my energy on this. You better win against, in all caps, win against the New York Jets at MetLife. I don't give a damn that it's on the road. I don't care that it's on the road. Not only have you lost 2 games in a row to the Ravens and Texans, respectively, but that's 2 AFC losses in a row. So if you lose 3 AFC losses in a row, oh my God. And good thing the rest of the AFC East, Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots, respectively, are garbage. But if you lose to the Jets, you'll be garbage too. Same record as the Jets, and the Jets will technically have the tiebreaker overall, so they'll technically be in first. And who the hell knows how that will go? So you just can't lose the Jets. It's a must friggin' win. I don't know how else to say it. I'm just disgusted by Sean McDermott. I'm just disgusted at what happened yesterday. I keep saying it, but I am. Anyways, guys, a lot to get off my chest there. You can follow me personally on Twitter at @AWeingartner13. You can follow the show on Twitter at Around Slice. You can watch or listen to this podcast, of course, on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can, if you like and prefer, you can support me on Patreon for bonus content for you guys as patrons. That's just $3 a month to join. You go to patreon.com/aroundtheslice. And something that I launched a week or so ago, mainly last week, I think it was, a Substack. If you guys don't know what Substack is, it's a way for creators like myself to provide their consumers and audience members like you guys written content. So takeaways from Bills games, which I'll be publishing later today. Bills previews, other interests that I have. That's totally free. I'll put it down in the description below on whatever podcast medium and platform that you're on and potting on. But yeah, that's kind of it. And lastly, I promise one last thing. At 39 subscribers now, please help me get to 50. The growth of the last couple weeks of this channel has been absolutely awesome. You guys are the best. So help me get to the big 50. That would be a big accomplishment for me in this podcast journey and in this channel as well. So big 50. That's the goal. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening to me rant. A couple good things, a crap ton of bad things. I was disgusted by Sean McDermott. All that. Anyways, guys, I will see you for the preview. Let's see. Bills play Jets Monday night. I'll see you for the preview of that Bills at Jets game on Friday, October 11th. So you guys have 3 or 4 days to consume this episode and digest it. Anyways, guys, I'll see you then. Thank you for supporting and watching, listening. Bye.